Good afternoon, everybody. Another week on the road as we prepare to travel to Kansas. We had a good visit to Dallas, Texas. First time I'd been to SMU, and it went pretty well. We played two really good teams, two teams that I think may have been in the round of 16 a year ago in the NCAA tournament. Houston lost quite a few players from that team a year ago, but they reloaded nicely and were very competitive. We were able to sweep them in a match in which I thought we played very well on Friday. And then on Saturday, we played our friends from Lexington, Craig Skinner's team that has been very, very good as of late. I think they've won the SEC title for several years in a row. So we knew that that was going to be a real battle, and it was. They beat us the first set, and then I thought we really for the first time all season hit on maybe 5 or 6 cylinders against Kentucky. I felt like that was the first time I've seen us play at the level I see us in practice from time to time. And really in sets 2, 3, and 4, we were in control pretty much the entire time. So it was a little bit different than I expected, but I credit our players for coming out and after a tough first set, settling down, just being focused on what was the task at hand, figuring out how to defend, how to score points. And so I thought it was a good trip to Dallas, and to come home 8-0 was certainly a good thing. And now looking ahead to Lawrence, Kansas, we play 3 matches. I think the combined records of the teams over there is like 38-4. If I've added them up real quickly. You've got Kansas, who's 7-0. That's our first opponent. They're going to be ranked in the top 10 this week. You have Creighton, who's 7-2, but their 2 losses have been on the road at Nebraska in 5 and at Louisville yesterday in 5. And then you've got Tulsa, who is 8-2, and their only losses have been to Baylor and Oklahoma. So really, really good competition. It's kind of an Elite 8 atmosphere with that type of talent that we have to prepare for. And for us, it's our 3rd weekend in a row on the road. So far, so good. I think our kids have held up very well. We haven't had any type of travel issues whatsoever. And we'll be at home for a couple of days to practice this week. Then Wednesday, we get on a plane and fly to Lawrence, Kansas. We'll practice there and then play on Thursday against the Jayhawks, who are picked to win the Big 12 conference. So that could be a real Donnybrook in Lawrence, Kansas. And then Friday, we play Creighton, who, by the way, does not play on Thursday. So they'll have 4 or 5 days of preparation to get ready for us. We'll be coming off of a big match with Kansas. So we're going to have to be really good in our ability to transition from one big match to another. But last year, our season turned around in Lawrence, Kansas. I think we were coming off of a 1-2 weekend at home where we lost to both Loyola and, help me out back there, we lost a couple of them. Creighton, lost to those 2 teams with a young outfit. And then took off for Lawrence, Kansas, and we're playing 2 top 15 ranked teams in Marquette and Kansas. And we found a way to win both of those in 5 sets. And I really felt like that changed the complexion of our season. So the new venue there in Kansas has been good to us, and we're hoping that will be the case again today. I want to mention a couple of players. Julia Kane, who is not a household name yet, I don't think. But Julia Kane is coming in and doing a phenomenal job of serving the ball and playing defense for us. She did not play much at all a year ago as a freshman, but certainly has developed nicely during the offseason and is really, really helping us right now. Elizabeth Carr did not play against Kentucky, but had a really good game against Houston, and every time that Elizabeth has been on the floor, she's been great for us. She's our 6'6" redshirt sophomore that can play both middle and right side. She's super valuable to us right now, and I would expect to see her play a little bit more this weekend because she's been nothing but really, really good. for us as we move on. And then we think we're going to have Raven Gray back. Raven's been out with an undisclosed illness, and but she is going to be back, and she gives us a physical presence in the front row that we were missing a little bit for the last week and a half. So update on the roster and where we're going and what we've been doing. And Sam, I guess if you're ready, I'm ready.
You just mentioned 2 front row players who we haven't seen a whole lot of, or you expect to implement more. But also, I think obviously when people look at your team, they think Chloe, they think Eva. But it looks like between 5 players, you've distributed the ball pretty well, and you're hitting almost 300 against that schedule. What's been the key to kind of having that balance and success across the board?
Yeah, I think a lot of hard work. It's been a focal point of ours for a year and a half to increase the efficiency and numbers behind our setter. So everything that our middles run off 1 foot behind the setter, and everything we set to our right side player, which primarily has been Kenna Woolard, we've worked really hard. Those players have done a great job of developing their skills and gaining confidence. Our setter has done a really nice job of increasing her accuracy in setting those players and her confidence in going to those players, to where we're not a 2 or 3 horse show. I mean, we've got plenty of players that we can go to. We talked about the fact this past weekend we didn't get the ball to our middles enough. So that's going to be a focal point in our practices this week, is getting a lot more comfortable feeding the ball to our middles, because we have really, really athletic middle hitters. And sometimes you just can kind of get away from that, and you go with more conservative set. And we don't want to be conservative. We're not going to go where we want to go being conservative. So that's something that I've already talked to Taylor Anderson, our setter, about, that we are going to certainly find a way to get the ball to our middle hitters.
You mentioned Raven as an improved hitter, also just how athletic she is. She's not Lizzie Carr. She's not 6'6", but she, with her leaping ability, what she's doing as a blocker, and she's been good for 4 years, but this is kind of next level stuff, right?
Yeah, and I've mentioned this before, that blocking seems to be the last skill that people really can become polished at, that they really figure it out, because there's so much going on. So it's not just how good are you technically from a hand position and knowing what's going on, but just being able to read what's going on in a match. And when you watch Raven Colvin, if you would just get back on the end line and just watch her movement and see how quickly she can now react to where the ball's being set, and her understanding of where she needs to be, it's a treat. I don't know if there's a better middle blocker in the country right now. Numbers-wise, I don't know if there is. She's number 1 with blocking, which isn't necessarily how you always measure a great middle blocker, but she does all the things that we need her to do. She's closing blocks. She's playing with us relentless intensity all the time. She has huge hands, which is great for a blocker. And she's doing such a great job of little things as shaping the ball. It's not just going out and putting your hands up in the air. It's going out with the intent that you're going to block people, and knowing how to shape the ball back into the court so it's not going out of bounds. But mostly it's just her confidence, her effort, and her desire, along with that great athletic ability that she possesses. But experience does matter in a lot of these skills, and certainly with blocking, it's huge.
You mentioned how tough this is, going 3 consecutive days against the caliber of opponents you're going against, and then I think it's a quick turnaround to start the Big Ten season. So how much does this challenge hopefully prepare you for, and a lot of these players know what to expect in the Big Ten by now, but kind of a quick turnaround on a Wednesday to start your conference season when, you start competing for, hopefully a big championship?
I think that the way it prepares us is we're playing really good teams every time. I mean, there might have been 1 or 2 teams that probably couldn't have beaten us that we played this year, but Cal could have. Utah could have, UC Davis could have, Kansas State could have. Both these teams we played this last weekend certainly could have beaten us had we not been, playing well. So I think the fact that we know every time we step on the floor, we have to be playing A-level volleyball. I think that our philosophy, and it's nothing that 95% of the coaches in the country don't have, is you just focus on one match. We're not thinking about anybody except Kansas. We'll be prepared for the next match, because that's what we do. That's what our job is. But right now, Kansas is probably going to be ranked 9th in the country. I think they're better than that. This is the best Kansas team I've seen. We've played a lot of them. They're not the most athletic, the biggest, but they don't have a flaw on their squad right now. They're really, really good. Really good outside hitters, a middle that's just blowing up right now, a crafty, smooth setter, really good ball control. Local kid, Reagan Burns is their libero. She's turned into a great player at Kansas. So they have no weaknesses that I can speak of. And so we have to be locked in on them. And then when that match is over, you turn the page. So you really don't try to get too far ahead of yourself. I mean, it's a fair question. Because there will be after we get done. That's why we moved this up to a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and not Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We wanted to have a little bit more time to get ready for the start of the Big Ten season. That was thinking it would be Friday. Then they moved us up to the opening match of the Big Ten on the Big Ten Network with, I believe it's Penn State, that we play on that Wednesday. So, yeah, we'll have our hands full. But I've got 2 people on my staff that went to school at Penn State, and I think that they'll be ready. I think they'll have our team's game plans and scouting. That they'll be ready to go when we play a really good Penn State team.
Speaking of your coaching staff, you do have an addition this year, John Clanic. What has he been able to bring to the program and into practice every day for the team?
Well, John's a real calm demeanor out there, and sometimes it's nice to have that balance when you have, other coaches that might be a little more intense, a little more vocal. He's very knowledgeable. John Clanic was at Rice for the last 5 years, where they had their best years of volleyball over the last 5 years, if I'm correct. He was at Houston a year before that. He played at Ohio State, where he helped lead his team to a national championship. So he brings, this confidence, and I think our players look to him and know that he's been there and done that, and so they believe certainly in him. He's well versed in a lot of areas. We have him working with our outside hitters. We have him working with our blockers. We have him working with our passers. There's certain areas that I think he can bring really good knowledge and coaching to our team. But I just think that he's just this really good guy that I think you need to have on your staff. Not that we don't have a lot of good guys, because I'd like to think that we do, but he's very non-threatening. Our players they like to hear from him, they like to talk to him, they like to be around him, because he's a good person that has good information for them and knows how to distribute that. I think he'll distribute more and more as he gets more and more comfortable with what we're doing here, but he's a great balance to our coaching staff. We're very fortunate to have him. Yeah. Corey, what do you got?
I don't, actually.
Nothing.
Save them all for the podcast.
Okay, save it for the podcast. Okay, we'll see you on Dig City then later on. All right. Thank you, and have a great week.